Welcome back to Hot Rod Guy Garage, and today we're going to hit a couple of cruise ins, and we're going to talk about some things that I do and do not like about the 306 cylinder swap in the 1974 Torino. So stick with me through the intro, and I'll be back. So, you made it through the intro, and now we're here. So let's talk about a few things. The first thing we need to talk about in the room is the budget. If you remember back to the first video, I said a budget of $3,500 to do this swap. Well, as usual, sometimes I get it dead on the budget or close to it, but in this swap, we have almost $4,000 to the point where it's like $3,900.66. So, real close. The car runs and drives. I've been driving it the past few days. I've actually driven it about 4 days total. And it's done pretty well. There has been a few issues. So let's flip the camera around and I'll show you those. So the issues have been kind of minor. I had some belt issues. I've got those addressed. Got a new belt on there. I have gained a little more clearance between my fan and the belt down there. So that's good. I had some clearance issues with my wastegate hoses and the exhaust manifold down there. Had some exhaust rattling noises, which turned out to be the wastegate clamps had come loose. Probably just from the heat soak. I did address that. And a little later in the video, it's going to show me changing the wastegate springs. And there's another reason for that too that we'll get in here for a little bit. But so far, everything cleared fine with my hood. I did have to take my ram air plate that I made before off to clear the hat. The turbo is somewhat close to the hood. And occasion when it's in power, it does slightly rub the brace up here. You can see where the paint's going. On my 71 Torino as LS swap, I did have to notch this for the alternator for the same reason. But it's not rubbing bad enough to hurt anything. And when I go back and eventually paint this car, I will probably notch this one also. But other than that, it's been fairly trouble-free. Had a minor oil leak from the oil drain plug that will have to be addressed later. It just seeps around it, even with a new gasket and the plug. Probably a defective plug, or the threads are just, the tolerance on them is a little loose. But I did drain the break-in oil out of it. I changed oil. It does have VR1 in it now. It has great oil pressure. It runs about 58 to 60 going down the road. About 35 idle with it hot. You can't ask for much more on a swap like this. So, you can't ask for much better on a fresh swap like this than some minor inconveniences like what I've had going on. So, let's talk about some pros and cons. What I like and what I don't like about it. So, the pros I like about it, the motor is very torquey. The power is very smooth. And it surprisingly spools extremely fast. Now keep in mind the car does have a 3200 stall converter in it. And that helps that 76mm spool. It actually, as soon as you whack this car, it is in an instant boost. Which makes it extremely nice to drive and fun to drive. And there's also a pro to this. It does run about 167 degrees at all times. It's got a 160 degree thermostat in it. And I have the timing curves and the fuel tables worked out where the engine's extremely happy and it runs cool. So let's get to the cons. What kind of cons could I have with a swap like this? Well, the only real complaint I have at this point with this swap is the sound of it. It is very, very, I'm going to say almost import sounding when you're driving down the road. Now keep in mind, I had this open down pipe in this first startup video, and I immediately the next day brought my 3.5-inch exhaust that was on the big block home, which consists of a 1-chamber Flowmaster and a turn down, and I stuck it on it, and it brought it down to where I was happy with it at idle, and I'm fairly happy with it when it's in power, because the tone does change when it's in boost, because the wastegates are dumped up here in the front, and it bypasses some of that sound, or changes the perception of where the sound comes from. So it's definitely going to have a muffler change. I'm probably going to put a quiet muffler on it with a boost activated cutout. That way it's only loud when you want the power and you need to use it, and it's quiet most of the rest of the time. So not a real bunch of cons here. More of a personal preference. I feel the car makes a sound that it shouldn't ever make. There will be some driving video later in here. At this point, I'm going back and having to kind of redo some of my video that I started yesterday. I did go to 2 cruise-ins, so we're going to transition into that right now, into a driving video, heading to the cruise-in. There's going to be some pictures and some videos of it, and I'll be back here in just a moment, and we'll talk about some other things. So I know the last few pictures probably won't make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but I'll flip the camera around and I'll show you why I put them in there. It has to do with my personal backstory. So let me show you. So that's the one reason I worked so hard to get this thing running for this past Saturday. So I know it kind of seems odd and random to drop cruise and stuff in the middle of this video, but it is relatable to the weekend that I've had. And I wouldn't be able to bring you this video if I didn't push so hard to get this car ready to go to that little car show cruise in. Um, but also, I went to another one later in the afternoon. But we started changing wastegate springs when I got home from this one. Mostly because I wanted to see if a little increase in boost pressure would make a significant difference in power. So, when I first started getting it together here, it was making 7 pounds of boost. And I put these really, really light wastegate springs in there. So, let's go into that clip. It's probably going to seem a little random in the video also, because, you know, I filmed it yesterday and I'm going back and trying to make this a more fluid, better video for y'all. So, got our little wastegate part here, and these are the springs I had in it, which they're mega soft. These were those springs that come with it. These are supposed to be a 14-pound spring. They're quite a bit denser. So, I then swapped it in the other gate. I will swap it in this one, in here, and we'll see what happens then. So after changing those wastegate springs, it didn't make 14 pounds boost. It made 9 pounds boost. So it was making 7 before. I gained 2 pounds of boost for all that trouble of changing those springs. More than likely, I'm probably going to have to combine the two to actually get to 14 pounds of boost, like the wastegates were initially set up. But, you know, we really need to get some baseline data on this car on low boost before I start really turning the boost up on it. I think 14 psi will probably be our base street tune for this car, but for now I'm going to leave it on 9, because I am going to put the car on dyno. It's going to come soon, probably within the next month. There is some other things I do need to change in it, mostly the rear gear. This car still has the 411 rear gear in it from when it had the big block in it. I did not have time to change it back to my previous 325 gear, and that will help utilize this 306 cylinders torque curve. What happens now in first gear when you hit it from a dead stop? It's first gear, second gear, third gear, literally that fast. Because when it's making power, the RPMs stay up, and there's just not enough time for the car to utilize the power that it's making with the way it's geared right now. Real common thing with turbo cars, real steep gears like this 411 are not a good choice because they do not load it well. So what I'm expecting to see when I do get the rear gear changed in this is possibly an increase in boost pressure, because we will be under load. We will be under more load. It will spool faster than what it does now, which will be amazing. But it's just one of those things you got to do. It's new combination stuff. You're going to end up changing things and tweaking on stuff and going from there. And like I said, it will be going on dyno. I do want to get that gear in it where I can tweak the tune and get it close before we put it on there and get us some baseline numbers. So make sure, if you're not a subscriber and this content interests you, especially the swap, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because it will help keep you updated as this progresses. So, as we all know, and as I started from the beginning, we're going to take this to No Name Nationals in Saxton, Missouri. I am going to drive it there. So, we got a lot of stuff to change from here. There's some safety stuff that's going to be added to the car, like a drive shaft loop. I do need to put some updated seat belts in it because my SFI certs on them have expired back last summer, which is fine for street driving, not so much for track time. So let's get into the few pictures from the second cruise in, and then I'll be back at the end. So follow along. that pretty much ended my day at that point. And today we're at Sunday, and I was sitting here trying to edit the video footage from yesterday and decided that I needed to refilm some stuff. But for today, I need to get this stuff cleaned up so we can get back on some other projects that we haven't seen in a while, like Project Free Throw. So, guys, if you haven't, make sure you hit that like button. Comment down below if you have any questions about the swap. And, as always, I appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. If you're not subscribed, it does help the channel to grow. And I'll see y'all at the next video. Thanks for watching.